Wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be outside.
What?
Yeah,
We get used to it too.
and early days, so it hasn't been
Yeah.
baked into the concrete. Oh, it did have
Do,
to
it
take-
doesn't look like you're in the city. Are, where are you? Are you? I'm just looking at the pretty trees outside your window.
To whom are you talking?
To you.
Oh, there are trees.
Okay, we
outside.
are in live stream, by the way, so, and we're about to get started.
Okay,
In fact, we are now ready.
All
all
right.
right.
Welcome to the June 11, 2026 meeting of the Health, Education and Environment Committee. My name is Rupal Kakad and I am the chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. This meeting is called to order at 6:34 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law requires all committee members who are not available to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. So I need a volunteer to take minutes for tonight. If you're able to take minutes, please let me know.
Okay,
Thank you, Karen. So
Well,
Karen,
Just to correct, Karen is technically not a member of the committee.
oh, no,
Not yet.
okay.
Sandy told me I was,
Oh, I
Oh.
have not,
I guess not. Okay,
okay,
I don't want to take minutes.
well,
Saved.
If Sandy told you, then I will go with, Sandy's the chair, so, yeah. Yeah, she's the one who's gonna make the decision, so if Sandy told you you're on the committee, I'm gonna say you're on the committee.
and I'll ask Sandy for an.
Official,
For an
yeah.
official email.
Yeah, all right,
So,
so
Uh,
Karen Moore will, take the minutes for today's meeting. We will now take, 6:34 p.m.
Thank you.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Brendan will conduct the roll call.
Okay, committee members, I will call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I'll announce if there is quorum. Marty Barrett,
Present.
Elby Barroso is excused. Liz Burr,
Present.
Stu Desser,
Present.
Barack Friedman,
Present.
Gloria Haig,
Present.
Rupal Kakkad,
Present.
Kate Kennedy. I don't see. Katie Landa,
Present.
Karen Moore,
Karen Moore.
Here. Thank you. I'm gonna take minutes.
Kevin O'Keefe is excused. Moving to VP is excused. Kat Valero, I don't see that. And actually, since Karen is a member of the committee, we actually do have a quorum.
Awesome.
We have seven of 13 for quorum, so
Excellent.
Karen is actually the difference.
All right.
You should make a difference.
All right, so, the agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the May 14th meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the minutes, please raise your hand.
I do
See-
not object. I just want to say they were really good minutes. They were well done.
Seeing no objections on the minutes from the May 14th meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for a committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. All right, so tonight's presentation, it is a very, very timely presentation, given that we are already in a heat wave today. We have a presentation from NYU Langone on heat stroke and how to deal with the heat. So I'll hand it over to you, Dr. Dougherty.
Yes. Hi, hi everybody. My name is Kelly Dougherty. I'm an emergency room doctor at NYU Langone Health. I am going to try to share some slides if I'm able to, and if I'm not, then I will just go verbal, and I think that will be fine as well. Let's see. Bear with me for a brief 2 moments here. See if I can figure it out. All right, it should, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna do slideshow from beginning. Okay, and hopefully that looks like a nice PowerPoint, not my notes and the doc. Okay, perfect. Great, so we are gonna talk a little bit about heat and heat-related health risks today, and it is a super timely topic because our heat index is high, and we are currently in a heat advisory. And I believe it is our first of the year. So just a quick background on me. I practice emergency medicine at NYU. You can find me in the Tisch Emergency Department and occasionally in the NYU Brooklyn Emergency Department. I'm also Associate Chief of Service there, so I work in some leadership and operations projects. Today, I'm going to go through some of the physiology behind heat exposure, what happens to the body when it becomes overheated, the 2 main types of heat illness that we see, because there's a slight distribution across different demographics, and then some New York specifics, because we are a heat island and we absorb heat and we hold on to it, and that puts people at risk. So first up, some of the physiology. I'm going to keep this pretty brief and just limit it to what I think you need to know to keep yourself safe and healthy. We have 2 main, actually first, a little epidemiology for you guys. In New York City, we actually, over the past several years, on average, there's about 500 deaths a year from heat-related and directly kind of hyperthermic cause deaths. Yeah, and it's actually the leading cause of weather-related deaths, which I didn't know until I made this presentation, so that is a fun fact for all of us. The heat index is really the number that you need to watch as opposed to the temperature itself, and that is because heat index uses both humidity and the actual temperature, and we'll talk about why humidity is important and what humidity prevents your body from doing normally that kind of magnifies the impact of the daily temperature. So here is a chart from the National Weather Service.
Sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
Dr. Dougherty. We only see the main slide, the heat-related health risks right now on the screen. We're not seeing any other slides.
You're sharing the wrong screen, maybe, if you have 2 screens.
Let's try. Stop share. Thank you guys. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, if I try again.
Now we see
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. We use WebEx a lot at work, and I'm really bad at Zoom. Okay, so that's just me, and then this was my agenda we already discussed, and this is what I was up to here. So leading cause of weather-related deaths, and it's about 500 a year in New York City, and heat index is what we care about. And so here's just a chart for the heat index, and for context today, our heat index is 96. So you're gonna find that in this kind of intermediate extreme caution category, the second orange shade. And that is within our criteria for heat advisory, which I'll also talk about in a second. And this chart basically, I mean, it's a little visually busy, but the key takeaway here is that relative humidity really decreases the temperature you need to be in the danger zone. So if it is incredibly high humidity, then it doesn't have to be that hot for people to be at risk. And here in New York, the heat index is when, or the heat advisory is when our heat index is above 95 to 99 for at least 2 consecutive days, or just an absolute temperature of 100 for any length of time. And so today we're 96, which means we're currently in a heat advisory. So how does the body manage heat? And we have 2 main mechanisms for dissipating heat or getting rid of excessive heat when we're too hot. The first is that we dilate blood vessels to help transfer heat to the external environment. And that's more of a direct kind of convection mechanism of heat. We dilate our blood vessels, we funnel more blood kind of closer to the skin surface, and we get that heat transfer directly into the environment around us. As you can imagine, that's not a super effective mechanism. And it does result in shunting blood away from key organs, and it can drop your blood pressure a little bit to your kind of your central venous pressure. So the venous pressure that you have closer to your core, because you're shunting it to the skin level. The other major mechanism we're all much more familiar with, and that is sweating. And sweating is very effective for heat dissipation. It's evaporative cooling, which means that you're transferring heat to water on your skin, and then you're releasing a lot of heat when that water evaporates. And that's how you really kind of funnel heat back into the environment. Sweating is great, but it does not work in high humidity. So above a certain humidity threshold, sweating is not going to be an effective way to dissipate heat. And that's where you can run into trouble, particularly for the athletic forms of heat exhaustion and heat-related injury. And we'll talk about athletic versus non-athletic in a moment. So how do we get heat injury? You can either get it through an exertional mechanism, which means that you're usually doing a short burst of activity in a too hot environment, and you exceed your body's capacity for thermoregulation. So you exhaust that venous dilation system, and then you exhaust your sweating capacity, and you start to feel bad. And we'll talk about the different ways you feel bad and which ones are most severe in a second. Oh, and then excuse me not deleting the stock text that is underneath this. The other mechanism is non-exertional, and that's more of an environmental exposure. And patients that are at risk for that are a different demographic. So they're usually not the ones that are doing heavy athletic activity in a high heat environment. This is more the demographic who's going to be at home without an air conditioning and is gradually overheating over the course of a day or several days. The most vulnerable populations here are folks over 65, folks on certain medications such as antihistamines and antipsychotics, and then folks who have no access to AC and are socially isolated, aren't getting out of the apartment. Think your geriatric neighbor who lives in a walk-up, doesn't have AC, high-risk patient. There's some additional factors in New York that make New York particularly risky as well for heat. If you think about like all that asphalt and all the cement that we have in our environment, that absorbs a lot of heat during the day, and it releases it, but it really kind of releases it back to us slowly overnight. And sometimes it doesn't fully cool overnight, which means we get this cumulative like building effect of heat over the course of several days. The other kind of risk factor in New York City is that we're just a high humidity environment, East Coast summers, swampy, moist, lots of humidity. That reduces our ability to sweat effectively and use sweat as a mechanism. And then oftentimes in the city, the heat doesn't dissipate well overnight. It retains, and then we're not achieving that cooling. So folks kind of classically overnight, that's when you get the cool down, that's when the body recovers. And if you're living without AC in New York City, nighttime doesn't really bring that much relief, especially in our multi-day heat advisories where that heat is just persistent for several days. Okay. Before I talk about prevention, I'm just going to take a moment to talk about the spectrum of heat illnesses. I didn't prep a slide for this and I want to keep it pretty simple, but essentially, once the body starts to overheat and exceeds the mechanisms for cooling, you get varying degrees of injury. The earlier ones are going to be like muscle cramps. So if you're not keeping your electrolytes equal and even, so sweating excessively and losing some potassium, you might get muscle cramping, and that can be a sign of a heat-related injury. Folks who are dehydrated or have mild heat exhaustion can lose consciousness. Usually that's not associated with like a permanent cardiac injury. It's just a kind of loss of consciousness episode more related to low blood volumes and dehydration. As the heat injury spectrum progresses, you start to get more severe illnesses, the most severe of which is heat stroke. And heat stroke is really a heat injury with a change in somebody's mental status. So we think about folks being confused, being vomiting persistently, not knowing where they are, or being unconscious and unresponsive. That is the most severe end of the spectrum, and that's where we enter the heat stroke categorization. When those folks come into the emergency department, those are the people that we're putting into an ice bath. We're rapidly cooling them as quickly as we can because we want to protect their brains. There is a really high risk of permanent neurologic injury, and depending on the patient demographic, the mortality rate can be as high as like 80%. This is really a patient population where their core temperature is above 100.4, so very, very hot. All right, and what can you do to prevent heat injury in yourself and those around you? Air conditioning is really protective. When reviewing the New York City mortality numbers, the direct heat related deaths all associated with no AC. For folks who do not live with an AC unit, or if you have acquaintances, friends, or family that live without AC, cooling centers on heat advisory days are huge. So think like libraries, even the emergency department, when it's a heat advisory, we function as a cooling center in some capacity as well. Fans do not protect against this. So fans, and when it's super, super hot, are not doing anything except moving hot air around. If you spray yourself with water and you stand in front of a fan, you can get a little evaporative cooling, and we do use that in the emergency department sometimes if in hyperthermia. But they shouldn't be thought of in the same way as or as protective as an air conditioning. Cool showers, obviously staying hydrated. And then really, there's a little bit of a community element here, just keeping an eye out for folks that might be vulnerable. And then certainly if somebody's been exposed to heat and seems confused, is vomiting, is disoriented, that is a heat emergency. They need to present to the emergency department right away. Cool. All right. Those were my main points that I wanted to communicate. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, we definitely have questions. So you said antihistamine is also a risk factor?
Yeah, it reduces your sweating ability. So usually in normal doses, if you think about it, if you take one Benadryl, in most folks, that's not going to significantly reduce your ability to sweat. This is usually something that kind of compounds in older patients. So if somebody's on two different mechanism medications, so an antihistamine and then something else that is also anticholinergic, which is just reduces the sweating ability, that can compound and really prevent them from dissipating heat effectively, and it puts them at risk for overheating. Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming at a timely hour. I do have a question more specific and explicit to maybe women's health, but still valuable. Women of different ages deal with menstrual and also premenopausal and menopausal issues that are amplified in hotter climates. So I'm just curious if you have any references to resources or studies or something particular about that demographic of folks.
For preparing this talk, I reviewed the New York City epidemiology, and there didn't seem to be a huge gender vulnerability, as much as there was like an age vulnerability. So I don't have all of that to say that I don't have anything great that points me on specific resources for women. But I think that's an excellent point. And I think that certainly, well, there might not be like a heat stroke elevated risk. There's certainly like a quality of life level, where there's probably some optimizations. Fans, evaporative cooling at home, so like spraying and then standing in front of an air source. But I don't have a specific reference or tool for that. Wonderful question, though. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Doherty. It's just a comment that trees are very protective for heat. And if you look at heat maps of New York City around Central Park, like Upper East Side and Upper West Side around Central Park, it's much less than what we have. And lots of cars and truck traffic really increases the heat. So like if you go down to Canal Street, where it's this huge arterial with tons of traffic, and no trees, it's really generating a lot of heat. So I think decreasing the traffic in the city and increasing the trees in the city would help this issue. So sorry, it's not a question, but.
No, it's a great point. And looking in the heat vulnerability map of New York City, Manhattan certainly has globally lower risk than the boroughs, but you're totally right in that the Lower East Side, Chinatown, and Two Bridges area have the highest, I would say, heat vulnerability in Manhattan. And trees are an excellent heat sink. And compared to asphalt, they help kind of dissipate heat and release it back into the environment a lot faster.
So for new constructions, I'm assuming there are some materials that may help with like heat, like dealing with this. Or we're not like.
Outside my wheelhouse, but reflective coating on roofs is actually very protective from what I was reading. But I am not in construction or materials or engineering, so.
That's fair, yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
Just confirming that the 500 deaths are in New York City, the New Yorkers are in New York City.
Yeah.
Yorkers.
Yes, I got that reference from the city epidemiology site.
I believe you, I just wasn't sure if it was New York or the state.
Yes, no, that's an excellent question, and now I almost want to go double check it, so.
Stu and then Katie.
Katie was first, actually.
Oh, sorry, I missed which one up. So Katie, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Stu. Do you have any public policy recommendations, Kelly?
I mean, are we thinking in terms of, I guess, in which specific direction? There's a lot of interventions, and I wouldn't necessarily know which is going to be most evidence-based in terms of efficacy and impact. But there are things like reflective coating on roofing, for example, that reduces the heat absorption. From a human level perspective, which is probably where I'm most equipped to speak about, having social and communal access to cooling stations is super important, especially in communities where there's a high population of folks over 65 who might not have access to air conditioners.
Right. Right. I was thinking too that there are there's a city statute around guaranteeing the level of heat in apartments that landlords have to provide to tenants during the winter months, and that maybe there should be, also regulation around apartment temperatures in the from the spring to the fall.
I think that's a super interesting point. I can't speak to obviously there's an impact beyond just the health factor there. But I think that as our summers gradually become warmer and warmer and warmer, that will be a much more relevant point in terms of housing access and housing rights.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Stu.
There are programs in New York City that provide free air conditioners to people in need. Can you tell us about those?
I cannot, because that would be news to me, but that is an exciting thing to hear. Perhaps you know more about it?
We heard from the Office of Emergency Management, I believe, like a year ago, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds
You
about
you
right.
remember that?
Yeah,
And
I do.
and right, and so yeah, there are programs. I don't know how extensive they are, but that would be something interesting.
Yeah.
But I do also, I mean, I want to follow up on Katie's question about policy. What should we be focusing on? You know, is it the people who are suffering? I mean, it could be obviously from exercise athletes, but it's also people who are at home and older or on medication and don't have access. What kind of program would make sense, or who is the target population that we need to consider?
For that kind of home-based, generally elderly or socially isolated, sometimes on multiple medications demographic, that's your most vulnerable and the most likely to suffer a high morbidity heat illness. So if they get into the heat stroke category, it's an 80% mortality. So that would probably be the prime demographic to start with for policy interventions. What that policy intervention could be, I probably am not the best person to ask, but home visits, if there's a AC program, I mean, there's probably a lot of barriers between a free AC being offered and a free AC being carried up a walk up and a free AC being installed. And so things that facilitate with that even would probably be protective for those folks.
But I'm sorry, but I guess when people end up suffering a heat injury, whether it's heat exhaustion or heat stroke, are they surprised, or they just had no choice? There was no way that they could see to escape. In
I
other
would
words, were they not educated? Were they not informed that this could happen?
I would say the ones that I've seen have been sort of a two-strike thing where it's somebody who's vulnerable and in an overheated apartment who suffers then a secondary thing. So they have another medical emergency that incapacitates them, and they end up either with limited, like they fall and they can't get up, and then they're in a hot environment without mobility, can't get to the phone sort of thing. Or they have a separate medical, they have a cardiac event or they have something else, and then they're stuck in a hot environment for a prolonged period of time. Usually, I would say most people who are living independently have some degree of kind of recognition of the risks of heat. It's usually some second thing that reduces their agency, their ability to call for help, their ability to move, that then puts them in that high risk.
Thank you.
So, it's interesting you mentioned that because about 2 years ago, I went to India in May, and it is extremely, extremely hot. So at one point, like I didn't realize I had any symptoms, right? I was feeling fine. I had no vomiting. I had no, not really much going on, just maybe a mild headache, like very mild. I was just like, my husband said something to me and I was like, wait, I'm a little I'm not sure what you're saying. But then at some point he just kind of touched me or something. And he's like, your skin feels really hot. Do you have a fever? And I'm like, I don't feel like I have a fever. I'm otherwise feeling fine. I just have a very mild headache, but I'm feeling fine. And he was like, no, your skin is hot. So we checked the temperature and I was at around 101, 102 degrees. And he was like, okay, you have no other symptoms. And then we were just like, what's going on? I was like, I'm just feeling really tired and lethargic. I just want to lay down. I don't know what's going on, but I just feel zapped of my energy suddenly. And then he's getting concerned because, this is not normal for me. Luckily, we went on CDC's website and he's like, I think you're about to have a heat stroke.
Definitely heat exhausted right now. What'd you do? Cool shower, ice packs? What'd you do?
Well, there's no cool shower. Water is limited, so that wasn't an option, India. So luckily, his parents have 2 rooms that have AC in them. Like a lot of households in India don't even have ACs, right? Luckily, his parents had AC and he was like, okay, we're putting you in one room. I'm closing doors, windows, turning that AC on max. You're just laying down here and I'm going to check on you in 30 minutes. So like, I literally spent the rest of the day and suddenly I started to feel better. So I'm so glad, like, that's the thing, right? Like the first time you have these experiences, like, at least for me, I didn't realize I had heat exhaustion. Like,
Yeah.
it was something that I didn't even think about. It wasn't him Googling and going through WebMD and CDC trying to figure out what is happening. Because if I'm not feeling sick, but my skin is so hot, what's going on?
Yeah, no, so when you're in a new environment or like an environment that you don't normally live in and it has a different temperature and heat index, that's also a risk factor for developing heat spectrum illnesses, just because your body hasn't had time to adjust.
Okay. Go ahead,
But
Marty.
that sounds crazy. I'm glad you're doing well.
Would you have statistics in regards to, if not the number of deaths in Community Board 6 over the last few years due to heat-related problems? Would you have statistics in regards to patients who've come to NYU emergency department in regards to heat-related issues over the last, say, 2 or 3 years?
I would have access to those numbers. I don't have them off the top of my head.
But
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure about the logistics of like sharing information like that, but we can query our medical record for heat related presentations, especially folks who came in with what we say malignant hyperthermia. We do have there is a separate subsection of non-heat related malignant hyperthermia, and that's primarily methamphetamine and certain prescription medication induced, which is a separate clinical category that would probably mix into those numbers. But there's also on the New York City resources related to heat, they do have a map at least that has vulnerability by zip code, it looks like. So I don't know if you'd be able to get the exact numbers for Community Board 6, but you could certainly get the kind of vulnerability of the area relative to the community boards around it.
I was thinking of what Katie had suggested, like, yes, there's the minimum heat, but, as far as the winter, there could be the minimum cool as far as the summer, and we could put together a resolution to that effect and start the ball rolling. When I was working, I worked for an agency that bused people with developmental disabilities from their homes to their day programs and back. And we had inspectors that go on the buses to make sure that the temperature wasn't over a certain degree that the air conditioning worked. If it didn't, we took the buses off the grid. And so it probably, we could start the ball rolling in CB6 as we've done on many things over the course of the years to start a law that requires, at the very minimum, a stand-up AC, which is, they're all under $300. And there's no reason why that can't be provided.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Or like a minimum, like a cooling space in each building or something that's like has a regulated temperature.
Yeah. Stu?
I wanted to ask about acclimation, but let me just respond. I don't think this is what Marty and Katie are talking about, but in New York City, in buildings that do have central air, the air conditioning season mirrors the heat season. So as soon as heat season is over, your building has to provide air conditioning. Back to acclimation, and I thought I heard you say 100.4. You meant but it's 104 degrees for heat exhaustion, right? Body temperature.
Usually for heat stroke, not necessarily because it's based off your clinical symptoms. So if you're confused or having seizures at a lower temperature, then it's possible. But usually for the folks who are going to have a severe complication or heat stroke outcome, they're around 104 or above.
Okay, and so athletes can train to perspire. Do people who are not athletic, who are who are vulnerable for other reasons, do they also acclimate to the heat? Rupal talked about India. So do people simply acclimate to it after a certain period, or how does that work?
I'd have to, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but my best guess would be that there's a combination of heat index playing into that, so the relative humidity of the environment. I think in drier environments, acclimatization would be easier, because you get more relief kind of when you're in shade or when you have your ability to evaporatively cool longer. I think the at-risk populations I'm thinking of, so elderly folks, patients on medications, they might have, or they definitely have a reduced ability to acclimate. And that's probably part of why they're so vulnerable, is that they're just not going to adapt over time, because their body can't keep up with the cooling mechanisms that they need.
Okay, and is there, if people have thermometer, surface, either one that measures surface skin temperature or in the ear, is there just the temperature at which people should start to be concerned? I mean, obviously you look at symptoms for actual diagnosis, but should people know that if their temperature is above a certain point, they should start to be concerned?
I would say if they are not having any symptoms that are related to a fever, but they have a fever threshold temperature and they're concerned it's related to their environment. So I'm talking 100.4 and above. And they're like, they don't have any congestion or cough or other kind of infectious related thing going on. They're just in a hot environment and they don't have the ability to cool. So I'm saying, like, can't get in a cool shower, can't do cold air conditioning, can't manage it on their own. That would be concerning to me. That's somebody that I would want to, like, either come in and get cooled or activate 911 simply to get out of the environment that they're in so they can go to a cooling station, come to the hospital. Just because they've already demonstrated that they're not cooling effectively. They're not keeping their core temperature kind of in a normal range. And unless they change something in their environment or change how they're managing it, it's probably only going to get worse.
I have a question there. Oh, go ahead. I'm wondering if there's, it's evidence-based when somebody says anyone 65 and older is more vulnerable. There's a lot of different 65s and olders. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, like, it's a statement, right? Like, where does that statement come from? And what is it based on?
Yeah, that's a great question. That comes from the at-risk population. It was like, so the epidemiology of the deaths. I think that 65 and up is kind of a bucket. So when we talk about age demographics, that's kind of a common cutoff. It's not necessarily like, if you looked at the breakdown, I guess that it's a higher kind of number of folks who are 70 and up. But the way that we think about age epidemiology probably isn't as accurate as it could be for New York City. I know that in our hospitals, for some of our at-risk populations, we've adjusted the age to 70 and above, or, 70, some thresholds above 70. Because I agree, there's a lot of 65-year-olds that are running marathons and are incredibly athletic, and this is not relevant to them.
And I'm wondering if with the comorbidities are a big problem, I mean, really exacerbate this situation.
Yeah, so underlying heart disease or kidney disease, so things that kind of impact your ability to launch a faster heart rate and shunt blood to different parts of your body, those will reduce your ability to cope with heat. And then again, the medications that we talked about that reduce your ability to sweat, or change how you perceive your environment and make you less motivated to get out of an uncomfortable situation. So if somebody is on benzodiazepines and they kind of have an oversedative effect because they're dehydrated, their kidney's injured, and the medication has now compounded them into a more sedated state, that person would be at risk for heat injury if they're just stuck in a hot apartment for a couple of days. But yeah, that's like a hard, that's the like 2-strike thing is sometimes hard to capture on epidemiology. So you have to be like, okay, somebody who has this underlying risk factor and then gets a second compounding insult, and is now, unable to leave their environment or regulate their temps.
Thank you.
Katie?
Yeah, so a follow-up to the question that was just asked. How quickly can this happen? So let's say a vulnerable person who has like a heart or kidney disease or is taking a medication that makes their body less able to cope with the heat, has an air conditioner in their apartment, but needs to go out to do their shopping, buy their medications, etc. Are they at risk when they
Usually
go
not.
out walking to, okay,
Usually it's, we think, I would say 6 to 12+ hours, to days for that kind of gradual exposure risk. So folks who are not excessively exerting themselves, but cannot adapt or cannot kind of sweat or decrease their temperature, that is the slower burn, so to speak. So that takes longer. Now, certainly if it's a heat index of 105 and you're on a 5th floor apartment with no AC and you fall and you can't move and can't thermoregulate and you're on the ground, sure, 6 to 8 hours could be pretty impactful. But for somebody who's ambulatory, who's going to other air-conditioned spaces, I would not expect any risk.
okay, thank you.
Anything else? Well, Dr. Dougherty, thank you so much for the presentation and taking the time to talk to us and answering all our questions. This was not only really, really useful, but also, as we said earlier, very timely, our first heat wave of the season. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh, of course, my pleasure. Stay cool, and have a good rest of your meeting.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to the second agenda item, discussion of fiscal, the district needs statement and budget requests. So let's start with the health one, and then we'll move on to the youth and education.
Okay. Okay, this is education. This is fine.
Yeah. All right, so. At last meeting, just to summarize, at last meeting, we didn't have quorum, so we weren't really able to vote on anything. But we did discuss the youth and education part of it, and at that meeting, we said that, you know, somebody had brought up, it was, said that, you know, substance abuse and everything within youth and high school, we could kind of put that into the health portion of it to be included, and then for education portion, can focus on like infrastructure and increasing capacity and stuff. So I edited that part a little bit, so if everybody wants to just take a look, and I'm sure there are typos or edits that, no? Oh, okay.
It's pretty good job.
All right.
And committee members, let me know if you want me to scroll down to anywhere. Also, I think that there were a few notes.
Yeah.
Maybe start by
So,
addressing those.
actually, that one, Karen, maybe you know, the, New York Eye and Ear, which is now part of Mount Sinai, is it still open? Like, is it still functioning? Is it still seeing and accepting patients?
I don't know. We do know it's slated to close.
Oh, is it?
It's rumored that it's slated to close.
Okay.
Why don't you ask me?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, you work
thank
for
you.
Mount Sinai, right? Yeah. Is it
On
still?
14th,
Yeah.
I
You
thought you
talking
were
about
from Northwell Health for some reason. I don't know why Northwell Health came to mind when I see you.
It's open.
It's still open? It's still accepting and seeing patients? Okay.
There's
you're
a,
talking about on 14th and First?
Yeah, the one on 14th Street, yeah. It's technically
To
just
me,
outside our district, but I was just curious.
It looks like it's fully functioning, and Mount Sinai has even taken over other buildings right nearby.
Yeah. So it was just something that Sandy said she wasn't sure, so I was just like, I'm pretty sure it is, but I haven't been able to confirm it, so, yeah.
No, we got it.
Yeah, now we have it, yeah. I'm thinking Northwell Health for you.
Before 2018, I worked for Northville Hall.
Okay.
So maybe you're seeing me as like the 9 years ago person.
We'll not get.
There are a couple other places where there are no, so we scroll down to those.
Yeah, so scroll down a little more. Yeah, so that was the one with the homeless shelter that, 30th Street, men's shelter that's closed, so. Yeah. Go ahead.
One note on that, you all may have read already, and I think it may have been mentioned in full board, but the lawsuits to try and prevent the closure of the 30th Street shelter did not succeed. So,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, the pictures that I've seen in some articles, the building looks pretty, and I think it was you who said that, like, there's just no way to, like,
Yeah,
it's,
I toured it
yeah,
and I was really surprised how poor shape it was.
Yeah.
And this is years ago.
so it's only gotten worse.
Well, I thought there's also a suit, or maybe it's the same suit, that wasn't about closing the shelter, because the shelter's already closed. It was about whether or not they could open the shelter receiving center on East 8th Street.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's a
that's
separate
a
one, I think it's a separate one.
And that lost.
It is closed, so they both lost. So this one won and 30th and 8th Street lost.
It
Yeah.
lost, meaning the
Yeah,
homeless shelter can move,
Yeah,
but they'll appeal, probably.
so
basically.
I think we can scroll down.
but I assume we can.
We're okay with that, like,
delete
okay,
that,
yeah.
Considering the news.
Yeah.
And I'll also delete my notes as we're addressing it.
I didn't have any notes.
Alright,
We were
so-
pretty thorough back in March. so
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, that's why I was like, this one we can, I think, vote on pretty quickly. Yeah, scroll down a little, yeah,
It's really well done.
yeah,
Covers everything we wanted to cover.
all right, great, so
That's
once we get to the end, then we'll just, yeah, so that's it. So any edits, suggestions, or are we ready to vote?
Motion to vote, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Do we?
Second the permission.
Yeah. Right. So let's vote on adopting this as written. I just want to make sure Stu and Katie didn't have any comments, or Liz Burr online. I want to make sure they don't have their hands up or anything, right?
Could I just see the paragraph on older people? I didn't see that. There we go,
Was this
thank
in
you.
the Was this in the packet that was sent to us, or the link, a few days ago?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Last Friday, actually.
I think it was sent out last Friday.
I saw the other two, but I didn't see this one.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't see this one either.
I saw the school one and the garbage
yeah, the
thing,
infrastructure.
yeah. But anyway. it's good.
All right.
You're gonna go on a book and go up on a shelf.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
I think it's very good.
All right, so let's take a vote.
Okay. When I call your name, please say whether you're in favor, oppose, abstain, or not entitled to adopting that. Marty Barrett,
In favor.
Liz Burr. Liz Burr,
Present.
I didn't hear that.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Now we can.
Okay, present.
No, this
No,
is
no,
to vote for the resolution, so in
Oh.
favor, opposed, or abstain.
Great. In favor.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's getting everybody.
Stu Dusser,
I'm not present, but I am in favor.
Barack Friedman,
In favor.
Gloria Hayes,
In favor?
Nicole Dukai,
In favor,
Katie Landa,
In favor,
Karen Moore,
in favor if entitled.
Cat Valero,
In favor.
with all committee members present, but they were all
Wait, so are
non.
you in favor or
Um,
is not entitled?
And did,
Okay, for some reason.
if I was entitled.
Oh, okay.
To see things that
Fine.
I'm-
Okay, yeah.
And I just wanted to note, thank you to the office for allowing us to really take an active approach and input into this new version of the health section of our district needs statement, and I hope that we can try this out again next year. Because now we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think considering it took us a long time.
Yeah, it took
For this
some-
piece,
Yeah.
starting in the fall, I really appreciate that time.
Yeah.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
All right, so now that this is done, let's go to the youth and education part one. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
this is
The most recent updated version that Katie sent.
this isn't you want me to show the version that Katie sent just a few minutes ago, which has not been shared.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah,
Because it was sent a few minutes.
yeah, it
before.
was sent just a few minutes before we started the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I withdraw my phone.
So should I share that on screen?
So what are we looking at right now?
So what we're looking at right now is what I shared with the committee.
Oh, okay.
Is this what we had previously?
This is the, yeah,
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then-
I wrote the same, making the same points, but Kind-
edited it,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so it still says many of the same things.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's see the one that Katie sent now.
Yes, I will share that,
Yeah.
which.
okay, and I sent two to you, Rupal, because I was kind of doing this on an empty stomach.
Yes, so I think the most recent one you sent is the one I forwarded it to Brendan. Is this?
Okay,
Is this the one you were talking about? Is this the most recent one you sent?
I think so, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that looks good.
Can you tell us what you changed from the one? we
Yeah,
got?
okay, so I added that the principals of the schools. Actually, this isn't the most recent one, but so I put the principals of elementary and middle schools in Community District 6 shared that a priority need is for more adequate school facilities. So that information wasn't in the other one, and I thought that that was important. And then just setting it up that there were two areas around school facilities that were spoken about, the need to update the aging infrastructure and to make the infrastructure investments that are needed to reach the class size maximum. And then I just took the paragraph that was at the end around the updating the infrastructure and put that in first. And then talked about meeting the class size mandates. And I took out, there was some incorrect information in the original draft about whether the schools were for Manhattan or citywide. And there was a charter school that was included, but charter schools are not subject to the mandate. And I took the part out about the location of the schools because I just felt like, we don't really have enough data on that yet to really take a stand. So those are the differences.
You took out some of the, or you rearranged the reducing the class size in Community District 6. You took out some of the trivial or numbers. The school was 101% over. It's not really a dramatic
Well,
number.
that school was the charter school with 101%. So the charters are just not subject to the class size maximum.
So how do we compare to other districts around the city?
I don't know. What my understanding is at this point is that school district 2 that we're in is one of the best school districts in the city. that,
Yeah,
I ask that only because I think that if we make this statement and other districts are much more desperate, then we're more likely to be ignored.
yes, yeah, that was part of the issue. That's part of why I took out the part in the original draft about making sure that we keep the schools within CD6, because a lot of these schools, a lot of the middle schools and high schools are actually open to students anywhere in the city. They have lotteries and they do, give preference to students in District 2. None of them give preference to students in Community District 6. So I just thought it was too complicated to get into that. I don't think we really understand that yet. And I feel like what we said here is sort of good for anywhere in the city. So it's not kind of putting our community district, prioritizing our district above others, because we are one of the best school districts, but it's asking for changes that would help schools anywhere in the city.
Go ahead.
Never see her.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is PS 116 at capacity?
I don't know. Kate provided these statistics on the school, so I did check her
Just curious.
statistics on that,
Thank you.
but she probably did a great job. But we could check on those things.
Two questions. Are we now looking at the most up-to-date version? Because I would really like to look at it.
So I was checking the version RuPaul sent me like a few minutes before the meeting, and it looks the same as what I have on screen, so.
Okay.
Cool.
There's just a change in the first sentence that I made since sending that one to RuPaul. So I put principals of elementary and middle schools in Community District 6.
Okay, I'll add that in.
Okay.
And my second question was about specificity of Community Board 6, District 2. I kind of feel like that's kind of our agenda as a community board in this district, in this school district 2. I'm sorry, I'm just making sure that I'm saying the right thing because it's a little confusing to me. So first of all, Kate, thank you for taking the chance to make several drafts. I know editing is not an easy task, especially with something like this. But I don't know, I would like to have a little bit of a dialogue about this in terms of making it more generalized citywide versus specific to CD6. And we've had, particularly with the capacity, location, yes, thank you. The word was infrastructure, Gloria, and capacity. I feel like we should, but I know there are kind of standouts, so that's just something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, I would advocate for Community District 6. That's who we represent. And if we say this is our number one priority, elected officials should take notice. Hey, this is the number one priority for the people in this district, and we should get better infrastructure. And I wouldn't worry so much about other districts. They have their own voices. They can, and they're very good at voicing what they want.
Yeah.
Let them voice what they want.
Yeah.
We should advocate for the parents in our neighborhood. We should advocate for the SALT students. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we should be doing. So I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to read this, and I feel like I really appreciate you editing it, but because it was edited right before the meeting, I feel like I don't have opportunity, I don't know what I think about it.
Process it, yeah.
So I appreciate you doing it, and I'm sure everything's really good. I just feel like I don't have the opportunity to process it, and I am a little nervous because I want to advocate for our district. I'm nervous that we're just saying the whole world should have better education.
Yeah.
Why should we stop at the city? The whole world should. have
That's not what it says.
No, I know.
I'm with you that you need more time, but so what it says is that the principals of schools in CD6 said that their priority was school facilities. So it is CD6 based.
So what's our priority?
What's
I
that?
know this you said, but what's our priority? What's this saying our priority is?
Our priority is to have funding to address the physical infrastructure needs of the schools and the physical infrastructure needed to reach maximum class size for the schools in our community district.
But I see like community district 2 crossed out.
I didn't say anything about District 2, I think. Oh, crossed out?
Education District 2.
Yeah, education.
Yeah,
oh, sorry,
we're in Education District 2, but we're asked what the priority is for Community District 6. So
Gotcha.
the superintendent was kind enough to poll the principals of schools within Community District 6 about, he gave them the list of things that we could choose from for the priority. And he said all the principals said it was facilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
So it is based on what CD6 is saying it needs. I agree. I think, next year we should really, reach out to the community and really understand, what families in our community district and the families of children who go to school in our community district, feel in terms of these priorities. I think if we have a series of community conversations next year, but luckily, at least we had a survey that the superintendent did of the principals in our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really great.
Yeah.
Aaron and then me.
I heard that presentation online. I mean, I was
Mhm.
Zoomed. And I think he said the most important thing is after-school facilities. Does anybody else remember that?
He did
After-school
mention after-school
programs,
programs.
After-school
Yeah,
programs.
he did. He mentioned that those two were like the top two responses from all the principals he reached out to within Community District 6.
Would it be okay to add a sentence or to add it in
About
the
the
middle of?
after-school programs.
After-school
Yeah.
program?
Because that's building capacity too.
Yeah. So,
After-school programs are based on whatever the principal wants. I worked for Sports and Arts in Schools Foundation for 5 years, and we had programs in many schools throughout the city. And and at that time, I was asking about schools in our district. And the person in our organization who would be going out said, we've tried many times, and those principals just want this, that, and that, and not the kinds of programs we give.
But that's a,
But they
still
have the
want
ability,
something.
they have the funds, and they have the ability to have whatever after-school programs that they want. And that's what they get.
But he said he wanted more after-school programs.
Then it's their
Yeah,
funding.
I understood him to say that some of the programs were no longer being funded or provided. He didn't suggest that the principals just didn't want them. That's what I remember anyway, Marty.
So it'd be a matter of them getting the funding from the Department of Education.
So then all it would be, if we decided, if we were gonna add something, would just be adding where we're at, where there's more, a request for more funding to say, after
to include that.
space, resources, after, such as after-school programs.
Yeah.
So I think it fits in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think we
it's-
should do that. That was such an
Yeah.
emphasis on
Yeah.
his.
I think it can easily get in here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So my question / comment / solution was threefold. One, we were talking about, Katie, thank you for bringing up the surveying. We do have an opportunity night out in the city. Sandy told me yesterday, we do this on a volunteer basis during the summer session, not for me, like on bulk. But we can survey at any event that we have in our community, including the ones that we volunteer as a board. It's just a matter of getting the materials, maybe a QR code to a form that folks can submit. So I'm putting that in your ear right now because we're in June and I think that happens in August or September. As far as the district meet piece and knowing that as soon as the fall starts, the office really needs things kind of tied up with a bow and in their final product version. So my suggestion is for all of us offline while we're not having meetings is to maybe just look at this version, add your own input and send it to the office so that we can look at it at the meeting in September or August when we meet next.
Yeah, it would be September.
A week in advance of the meeting so that we can actually look at the content via a Google Doc where everybody should be able to access at the same time. Is that doable rather than a Word doc?
Yeah, I was just
Do
gonna,
it in
I was just gonna ask you, do we have time to
Do it in
do this again in September? Or it's one of those things where the Budget and Government Affairs Committee needs it before then?
They need it by October. They need it by October.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we're good for September.
So-
No, I think we'll wrap it up by
Specifically,
September if we do.
my homework for this committee, the suggestion I'm making, based on what we have right now, thanks to Katie, is to create a Google Doc using this as the draft. All of the members currently here and those that aren't here today, for the next 2 months, July and August, to go into the Google document, add your own content and comments or drafts below. And for the office to send that to us again when they remind us of our upcoming Health, Education and Environment Committee in September.
and I would say send it 2 weeks in advance, like after that, like, we should have all the edits done,
Okay,
except for maybe a comma here or there.
so the homework is to look at a Google Doc, add your commentary, suggestions, whatever. We will get it 2 weeks in advance of the committee meeting and then we'll discuss and vote.
Yeah,
I would suggest sending it to Rachel, since she came to us via the Salt School, and she is going to be asking to come on this committee whenever the committees are actually being put on. And we
So
did,
she would
we
probably
did
be
work
here
in
in
regards to the Salt School and
Mhm.
the group that she was focused, the parent and children group that she was voicing.
so, yeah, so I was literally gonna suggest something similar, after confirming with Brendan if, September is still something we can push this till, which you said it is, right? So,
I
yeah,
think so.
And that way we
I
can-
hopefully, taking a district
I
meeting,
would
like,
just-
us is the end of March. So,
Okay.
I would,
So-
I would just,
yeah.
yeah, we have until the end of
I
October.
would just suggest, that, well, I'll ask the question, I'll take this as a question. I don't know that we should each edit the doc, I think we should comment on it.
Yeah, comment. I would say
That would be
comment.
too crazy.
If you're familiar with Google Doc that tracks everybody's commentary, whether you edit or not. So you can add it to the bottom of the document and everybody can put their names, but it's a transparent, what do they call it? Asynchronous way that everybody can add their contributions and you're not gonna miss anything. Nothing's gonna be deleted permanently. But that way we can all see it in lifetime for this period that we're not meeting. And that's the only, thing that we have to do.
Yes, I realize that, I'm just saying, don't edit the doc directly, you can put your comments on the side, so everyone can see what it was and what you're changing, and you're not, otherwise, when you edit the document, I know you can revert to the earlier version, but once you edit the document, then everyone's looking at the revision, and they may not have all wanted that amendment, so it would make more sense, I think, to just comment on the side or comment on the at the end. That's my only suggestion.
Brendan, you had
Agree
it.
with Stu on that.
Yeah, no worries, I was thinking maybe giving like at least you Rupal editing permission since you're the committee chair or Rupal and Lori since we're the vice chair, but whatever works.
Go ahead.
So for the purpose of the minutes, I wrote down the health section was approved, 9, disapproved, 0, abstained, 0. That all relevant or just the action is that it's going, the district needs statements, gonna be a Google Doc that'll be distributed to the
Committee
committee
members,
to add comments,
yes,
before, September meeting.
yes,
Thank you.
for the education portion,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, for the education.
like
portion.
this one, because we approved the health portion, there's two separate,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so then, in favor, health stays.
yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
And just for clarity, Brendan, the idea of the Google Doc in its entirety is that we all have editorial access so that we can actually contribute. And Stu, to your end about comments, I know how that's gonna go. I will add another amendment to what I'm saying is everybody put their name below the original draft and copy paste and edit your own version of it.
Yeah.
And then that way we have a running document of everybody's contributions and we can do it slapdash at committee meeting in September.
So
I'm
for
gonna
you
be signing all of your
right.
names.
Oh, go ahead, Sue, sorry.
What was that, Stu, repeat that again, please?
I'm just gonna sign all of your names. I don't wanna be blamed.
Right. Go ahead.
So just to make sure I'm on the same page with the committee, I should give you all editing permission or commenting permission?
I would say editing.
I would say commenting.
I
And the
would say
only
commenting.
reason why is because you could get one sentence that 5 people are changing. And
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
do we end up? We're looking at
Yeah.
5 different
Should be-
things. It can get, that, the document itself would look like, it may be very confusing. That's my opinion.
I agree. I've had experiences where a lot of people are editing a Google Doc and it becomes really confusing.
It's like a work of art.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would say commenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then
Yeah.
you'll,
yeah, because that way
Incorporate.
everyone gets to contribute.
oh, yes, you'll
Yeah.
incorporate comments.
Yeah, so yeah,
I mean,
commenting,
everyone's gonna get to edit in the end,
yeah.
right?
No, I don't believe so, but we're
Okay.
going with quorum of the committee. We'll see how this goes.
We'll have a little
All right.
experiment.
So, all right, so that, so, do you have a point? Sorry.
No, I'm in agreement.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were trying to say, I want to,
No, I'm in agreement
okay.
with
Can I
everything.
send a cleaner copy, just do this with?
Yeah,
I-
actually, if you can just
I
send
really-
me a cleaner copy, then we can just use that as the template.
Okay,
Version
all right,
23.
great.
Yeah.
Great.
And then, all right, so we have one more district needs, Brendan?
Yes, yeah, so, just a moment. Not this one, we've already discussed this. This, which probably requires some background explanation, because this started with exact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
So,
give the explanation?
yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, this particular section of the statement of district needs, the one on farm infrastructure, city services and resiliency. There are elements of this section of the statement of district needs that fall into any one of, I think, 3 committees.
Yeah.
So there are some areas that fall into health. Others that fall more into
Sanitation.
Stu's committee, public safety and sanitation. There's some stuff that falls into one other committee, but I forgot which one. But with these optional sections of the state of this particular section. Where exec agreed to go was to have the committees most suited for these optional sections to take them on. So in the case of this committee, the section for water, sewers, and environmental protection is most appropriately dealt with by this committee, since environment is in this committee's purview.
Well, we did the resolution on this last year.
Yeah, I think this is last year's version, right?
Oh,
That's
did we do
why,
The resolution.
yeah,
that all the pipes that had been laid, there was like, 250 buildings or
Built, yeah.
something, and that they should all be converted.
Yeah. So this year we have to pick something for this section, right? Is that what you're saying, Brendan?
Well, it's not thinking something so much as either, keeping this blurb as a whole, keeping this blurb with edits, or like drafting a whole new blurb for this
Okay.
section.
Quick question, so I did get to glance at this right before the meeting, and further down, I'm not sure if it's in another section entirely to the district's needs, but it talked about noise. Further down in the document, and I wasn't sure, there you go. I wasn't sure who put that in, where that came from. So it's an environmental response that I'm not sure to what.
If I remember correctly, I think exact. I think.
And we also passed a resolution on noise last year as well. Yeah. Sure.
Question, what was it about trash? Why was there such a, you scroll up? Why, I'm just confused why cleanliness and trash collection is the most important core infrastructure in cities issue. What is that referring to? I'm just not disagreeing, I'm just confused about it.
So that, I'm not sure, also, that's more Stu's committee, public safety and sanitation, so. Health need not concern itself as much.
So this document has a bunch of different sections.
Oh,
That fall with different committees, so we're not
Okay.
concerned with that portion, we're
Yeah.
only concerned with things that affect our committee, which is health and environment.
Got
Yeah, so because this particular section of the statement of district needs has portions that fall into like 3 different committees. The way it was handled was, the executive committee decided on the most important issue as well as like draft a blurb for the most important issue for this section. And then these optional sections like sanitation services, environmental protection, those are being, I guess, farmed out to the appropriate committees.
Alright,
So are we water, sewers, and environmental protection,
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
and not
So-
noise pollution?
I mean, we can, noise pollution is something we
it's
can pull
environment.
under that, so that's the reason why we're having this discussion, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Brendan, is for us to kind of decide on a topic as to what we want to put in there. Once we know that, then we can write a blurb and then like the education part of things, come back to it in September and just vote on both of those. So the purpose of this one is to talk about like, are we going with cloud, are we going with noise pollution, or is there something else that we want to go with? So right now, we just need a consensus of what that is as a committee, and that's what we're doing right now.
Can you do both?
Both as in lead and noise,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can combine the two,
Different paragraphs?
so.
Oh, you mean, maybe, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
Can I raise an environmental issue that, something Neil Barkley said, yesterday, is that we have the 4th worst
Yeah.
air quality,
Mhm, yeah.
of any community board in the whole city.
mhm.
He mentioned trees, combat that. And that just seems like,
And it also.
a nice
Yeah.
thing for our community.
I am definitely on board that, and I also know, doesn't the city or Manhattan Borough President have something like a proposal or something to plant a lot more trees?
Urban
over-
forestry.
That one, yeah, urban forestry, yeah, yeah. So that kind of also falls within his plan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm on board the more trees for environmental reasons and air quality part.
Yeah,
Just-
me too. And also, with the presentation that we just had on heat related illness,
Yeah,
you did say that trees are very helpful.
yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So that's why I brought up the noise and where did it come from, whole thing, because I was like, did exec like vote on something, or is this just like notes they put up with?
Let me
Look like
double-
notes.
Cause if they passed it, I just wanna make sure that we're clear on like
But
what
we
we're
don't
looking at.
have better ambulance sirens yet. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that
Yeah.
is so annoying to me. It literally puts me in a shock state every time they come past my house. Cause they're just, that doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah.
And you did that already, but
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Yeah, I don't even think it passed the committee in city council.
When this process started, we started with that, the mock-up resolution
Mhm.
that had, 20 items and we were supposed to pick the most important.
Yeah.
By going this and this and this and this, we're taking the entire list. So we should really focus on one or the
Yeah.
other.
With the
Yeah.
the Midtown Tunnel.
Yeah.
And I've heard many people talk to me about that live around here that are really suffering from air quality. And you're, like you said,
Yeah,
it's the fourth in the city.
yeah,
I mean, that might be.
Well, and with climate change and.
Yeah.
yeah, and
the
everything
heat
higher
factor and the-
temperatures.
Yeah.
yeah, the
Maybe
heat
point
index
that,
and
yeah.
everything, yeah.
I don't know, what do people think?
So are we,
Agreed. Or
so are we going with, environmental protection, more trees as the topic or issue to write the blurb about?
I would be more specific, but also general in saying air quality, pollutants, and solutions that would provide, like expanding tree planting, part of the urban forestry campaign program, whatever it is, that's already in play.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
Yeah,
Green highways or blue highways, instead of
Yeah.
blue highways.
on the blue highway.
I
That's
don't
the
mind.
shipping, instead of trucks coming in, ships
Oh,
bringing to
water.
port.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they have cargo lines that take the deliveries at.
Kind of like Amazon.
Which
That's
is
mine.
planned, which the one in district is planned for 23rd Street. There's going to be 6 docks along the East River, 3 in on the Manhattan side, 2 in Brooklyn and 1 in Queens. This has been in planning and in construction. I think towards the end of 27, the one at 23rd Street will be in effect. It will be it'll be a major boom. There's also a proposal to
Don't fold in.
cover the FDR Drive, to put the FDR Drive underground and make a park over it over the course of the Department of Transportation, I think it was, no, or maybe State DOT had done a presentation to the Transportation Committee, I believe it was. This was about 3 years ago,
okay,
that this is something that they're looking to do,
okay. All right,
Do
so,
love
which would
progress.
decrease the pollutants significantly.
yeah,
So we would still have the 59th Street Bridge, excuse me, the Edward I. Koch. And as well as the tunnel
yeah.
exit.
All right, so Stu, Katie, Liz, any comments, or are we good to say what, like, let's focus on air quality, pollution, and then tie in the solution with like more trees, more green infrastructure?
And supporting the urban forest
Yeah, which will, yeah,
I
program.
don't mind drafting.
all right.
Unless.
Yeah, so any comments from Stu, Katie, or Liz, or all good?
I'm good.
All right,
I'm good.
Um,
And I
just-
think we could add, countering climate change within that
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well, because of the relief from the heat that trees provide.
What did your puppy have to say?
What's that?
Does the dog agree or
What
no?
does your puppy have to
Oh, Tassom thinks that everything I say is fine. He likes me.
That's because you feed
Go ahead.
him. He actually disagrees
yes.
about a lot.
Yeah.
go ahead, Brendan.
So who will be working on this blurb?
Shoot.
Terrific.
Our darling
Yeah.
cat.
Thank you
I'm
for bringing
very
that, Kat.
passionate
Yeah.
about it. So
I
It's
love
not
that.
even, it's a pet project.
Yeah. So,
Thank
all
you for
right.
investing.
So does that take care of all the district needs? I believe it does.
Yes, it does.
Okay,
And
good.
kudos to you all for your hard work. This committee has had more work to do than any other committee
Yeah.
because of having like health and education in
Yeah.
your purview, plus a section of the court infrastructure, city services and resiliency. So kudos to you for all the work you all are doing on it.
We got 1 out of 3 done and we're gonna get the other 2 done by
Cool.
September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, chair's report, summer break, so we will, meet up again after this in September and, and then we can talk about the rest of the year's agenda and figure it out, and then old and new business. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, a couple of months ago, New York had Open Data Week, and there were a lot of really insightful and great presentations, about kind of this, a litany of things that we've discussed at this meeting, particularly related to the district's needs statement, including environmental education. And I was only able to visit a few, but when we were talking about shade canopies and things that Neil brought up yesterday, I was like, wow, this is very timely. I wanted to follow up with some of the teams that presented the work to see if they could, because all of the presentations that were made during that week, they're accessible to the public. They're not hiding it, and they actually were trying to encourage people to go into this data repository, if you will, because they're constantly updating it with new studies and new information to what Marty was saying about a whole host of other things related to air quality and pollutants and things like that. In addition to that, I went to something fun, and it was like, it's called Nerd Night. It's like lay people present things that they're nerdy about. And this was a partnership with Rider Alliance. It's a community organizing group, but they had a very heavy night of presentations. One was by the Department of Sanitation related to recycling bins. This is an ongoing project that they've had, that they were talking about Community Board 6 specifically, in addition to a couple others. So I also got information about who to contact to bring a presentation to this committee. So all of these are kind of in the realm of health and environment. And I know that we've been talking because it's set precedents, and there were a couple of things happening related to education, specifically in our district. But I would like to get back to some of those things that are impacting our community members and neighbors related to health and environment. So it's up to discussion, but I would like to bring those presentations maybe in the fall or later this year. But I didn't want to give them an ask without knowing what our timeline was. And now that the budget seems like some of the hysteria around the budget and some of the other fires we were dealing with earlier this year are no longer an issue. So, yeah.
What was the name of the conference?
Open Data Week.
But now
Open
thank you.
NYC, I think it was called.
So I'm actually really glad, as I mentioned to you earlier, that you brought it up, because I've also been thinking like we've kind of been slacking on the environment portion of this committee since the start of the year, basically. So my goal was to kind of bring that back in the fall. Especially with the governor kind of wanting to weaken the CLCPA and everything else that we're trying to do, and the governor trying to undo that.
Yeah.
So I was also thinking of bringing that back in like either September or October, and kind of working. So let's connect over the summer and figure out, or like come up with a topic or an agenda item or something, and then we can work it from there. But if anybody else has anything to add to that.
I think it's just a question, you said the sanitation was talking about CD6 or CD6? What did they say?
It wasn't specific to
Oh, it wasn't
Steve, it was
specific.
like a region, they were using information, I was like, oh my God, that's my district. So, yeah, but the specificity of information I would love to circulate to the committee
Mhm.
in advance of getting anybody who's gonna present at the committee meeting, because I assume we're also gonna have to partner with the office to figure that out.
Yeah.
But happy to share what I've reviewed
Yeah.
so far.
That would be actually really great if you could share that, yeah.
It's really great. You said trees. We know there, and it's gonna be one of our things. Every year there's a tree count. In New York City, volunteers count trees. So. Do we know anything about that? Does anybody know
Didn't
anything
Neil
about
last
that?
night say we have dying trees? Like, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Yes, he
Right.
brought it up, and I
Yeah.
said, oh, yeah, my
There are
friends go around in
6,500
trees.
trees.
Oh,
We have 6,500 trees.
in Manhattan or?
No, in
In
CV6.
CV6, okay.
And that.
How do you know that? I'm not
From,
questioning.
from the
asking
tree, from the
information.
tree count.
Oh, okay, so you.
But it doesn't count the trees in Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper Village, because that's within private property. It doesn't count trees that are in backyards, or it's trees along the streets.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait, people have backyards in Manhattan? In CV6?
Yeah, they.
I do.
Some townhouses.
Okay.
You know, my window faces, well, 100, about 100 feet or so to the building on 56th Street. And in between us, there are yards, people who have garden apartments, and there's trees in there. And, you know, there's, I'm sure other buildings that have
That's.
that distance between the one block and the next block. Those trees aren't counted.
I think that's a great idea, to open that.
Yeah.
It might be part of the Parks Committee then.
Yeah,
Oh, of course.
yeah, I
was
think that
thinking
those questions
canopy,
might
but
be
that's parks, or
better
not us.
for Neil
And the
or
reason
somebody on the
I know
Parks
that
Committee.
number is because I'm a member of the Parks Committee and
Yeah.
and the presentation is there.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, so then over the summer, we will work on that and try to incorporate more of the environmental issues in this committee as well. Any comments from Stu, Katie, or Liz?
No.
All right, no comments from Stu.
I feel honored.
Yeah. All right, so with that, let's see, if there are no objections, we will adjourn the